All right, so let's get into it. So let's attack jumper's knee first, because this is what a lot of people deal with, which is, patella tendonitis. You get pain right down here in this knee. Now, sometimes this can be patellofemoral syndrome, or they call it PFS, right? Patellofemoral syndrome. But it just depends on the situation, right? So what's the difference between them and how does it all work? It all comes down to angles, right? So if we're in a shallower angle when we jump, right? This is kind of where we are when we jump, right? This is that patella tendon. And a lot of times people get issues here because maybe they run and jump too much, they don't have strong enough glutes, they don't have flexible hip flexors. All things can come into play, right? But what it ends up being is an overuse, okay? Things flare up because of overuse. And then over time, if you do it too much, it can be degenerative, right? And which means it's just constantly nagging. You can't get rid of it no matter what, right? So there's kind of a different way to approach each situation, okay? So no matter what type of tendonitis we're dealing with, we need to approach it, the first stage, with the isometrics, okay? What's an isometric? I'm just going to use this as pretending it's a wall. And, it's just an isometric. This is an isometric, okay? Here, this is an isometric, right? So what I just showed, I showed two different things, right? I showed a deeper flexion isometric, which was the first one, which would be great for your quads. Then the second one I showed, which would be really great for if you have something like jumper's knee or patella tendonitis, okay? So whenever you're going about this, the first thing you always want to do, if it's like just kind of recently cropped up, the pain will probably go away regardless pretty soon, but the main thing is you have to get the pain to go away. How do we do that? How do I get the pain to go away? Let's start out with something simple, like it's our patella tendonitis, okay? What are you going to do? You can take a leg extension machine, you can take a band, etc. What you're going to do, though, we're going to come, let me see here, grab this, okay? We're going to come more out like this, okay? So the more in I have it, which I actually have a little bit of a case of quad tendonitis, that's going to work quad tendonitis, your quad area, if you have tendonitis here, and then going out is going to work more of your patella. Now, how long do you do it? You do it for 45 seconds for 5 sets, right? There's a published study that if you do this, you can reduce pain by up to 40% in one single session, right? Which so means in 5 minutes, you can reduce your pain by 40%, okay? So, again, it depends, right? Is it the pain here or is the pain here, right? So, you have to train accordingly. So let's say you have a leg extension machine, you're in the gym, right? So if you're training for quad tendonitis, you want to load it up with tons and tons of weight, and you want to barely be able to move it. You want to be like right here the whole time, okay? Or you can simply take a band like this, right? And this is just example for that quad part, that quad tendonitis. And you want to be like here, right? You don't want to fully extend it. That's for quad tendonitis, right? There's obviously an example, right, for the quads. Now, if we're dealing with the patella tendonitis, okay, I don't even know if it's going to work. We're going to want to be like more, this isn't even, if it's patella, you want more extension instead of flexion. So you want to kind of out here if it's that patella version. Does that make sense? So if it's jumper's knee below, like right here, that little tendon right below the kneecap, and the pain hurts there, or the pain hurts up top, do you know which way to go, right? One's deeper motions and one's shallower. Again, this would be for something like jumper's knee. You just want to stand here, balance, flex that quad, okay? Here's another thing you could do. You could do some reverse Nordics, okay? These are pretty good for quad tendonitis and jumper's knee as well. It's again about angles. So if you're coming back further and you feel it more, then that's the right range you want to stay in for that isometric. And if you're up top and you're feeling it more, stay in there. So that's based on the reverse Nordics that you're going to do, right? Now, what about, let me turn this a little bit. What about some simple things we can do at home without weight or whatever, right? If you have jumper's knee, remember, jumper's knee is the one down here. You want to be in a shallow state, like right here, and put pressure on it, and just hold here for a minute or 45 seconds, 5 sets. If it's deeper, like here, that's going to be more for that quad tendonitis, and mine is a little active, but that's going to help, right? Again, 4 to 5 sets, 45 seconds each. You can do anything. Think of it like you can just make whatever you want to. You know, you could just come here in a deep motion and hold and balance. Anything that's that isometric you can do, right? So that's going to be your stage 1, okay? Is the isometric. Now, once things start getting better, okay, and feeling better, you can start going into things like, I think you can see me still, like eccentric, slow on the way down. Come up with 2, slow on the way down. Come up with 2, slow on the way down, okay? So obviously, again, it's about the range. If it's jumper's knee, you want to keep those shallow. If it's deep knee flexion, you know, if it's that quad, you can even come up, I'll probably hit my head, almost. You can even come up with something like this. We're going down real slow, coming back up. Real slow, and then you come back up. Real slow, and then come back up, or fully reset. But it's all about angles. So depending if you have jumper's knee, right, or you have patella tendonitis, it's all about the angle you're going to use, okay? And then you start doing eccentrics. I mean, you can even do something like a slow wall sit. Just come slow, maybe feel it a little bit, come up, you know, slow. Come on. Slow. Come on. You know, it's all about knowing for you and what works for your body, but I'm going to tell you as a biomechanical standpoint, one's flexion you work in, and one's more of a shallower range, okay? So quad tendonitis, again, you're going to work in those deeper ranges, those deeper flexions, like here. See, I feel it a little bit, because I overdid it. So I just way overdid. I applied metrics 3 or 4 times in 1 week, plus I did weights, plus I played ball 2 or 3 times, and that was a spark up. That was too much. Your body will tell you. So you have to slowly regress just a little bit, and then you'd be good to go. Now you can use things like NSAIDs and pain relievers for quick things, like, hey, I need to get rid of this quick and just get back on the field. You can, but long term, you use isometric, eccentrics, and then, my friend, you need to eventually get into things like, before we start getting into jumping like this, we want to practice just jumping off and landing, okay? Jumping off and landing. Because if we can't absorb the force, you know, we can't transfer the force. There's no way you're going to transfer it, okay? So you have to be able to absorb before you can transfer it. And especially when you have an injured tendon, you know, how are you going to, if you can't even land and hold it, how are you going to be able to spring up, you know, with being injured? It's not going to happen, you know? Like, it just won't. But once you're past the landing and absorbing phase of plyometrics, like stuff like this, you know, landing, just holding, okay? Once you're past that stuff, then you can start into things like this, like, okay? And then just get back into your normal plyometric routine, right? Or your normal activity. Now, if it's pretty bad pain, reduce 1 or 2 days of whatever you're doing a week. Drop some of that stuff, drop some of those sets, see how that helps you out, okay? It's usually just because of an overload. Anyways, I hope that was helpful for you, explaining the difference between jumper's knee and quad tendonitis, the difference between them, and then how you can attack them, okay? Most of the time, an easiest fix is just literally going to the leg extension machine at the gym. If it's quad tendonitis, setting it really, really heavy so you can barely move it, okay? Or if it's that, if it's jumper's knee, then you want to be able to move it where it's like about right here, about 45 degrees, okay? So more of a 90 degree for quad, and then for patella, about 45 degrees. Anyways, guys, I hope that was helpful for you and informative and gave you kind of that mindset of how to attack it. It doesn't matter always the specific exercises. It's more about the angles that you're doing and the thing that you're doing. So if you're doing isometrics, it's always about holding, okay? Again, this is for more jumper's knee. This is for more quad, okay? When you first start out, you start with force absorption, then you start with jumping. Hopefully that stuff makes sense. It would be a real favor if you could like the video, comment, subscribe, and just, you know, if you ever need any tips or anything like that, feel free to ask. I have a lot of experience. I'd be more than happy to offer a hand. Hope you have a blessed one. Take care.